yeah, 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 oh, yeah, mm, yeah, mm, born and dead, saved by love, count my blessings from above.
Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, depending upon where you are around the world. I am Marcus Holmes, the love activist, and I am excited to come to you each Tuesday evening, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for another episode, another video cast of Love and Stuff emanating from the Love and Stuff community page and also on the Marcus R. Holmes page here on Facebook, as well as on Twitch TV and YouTube events. I wanted to say Happy New Year to all of you. And I hope that in this year that you will pursue the best you in 2022, that you are on a path, on a journey to becoming the very best you, the highest and greatest expression of yourself, your most authentic self in 2022. So I'm excited that you are here and I hope that you will click share, whether you've joined us from one of the many love groups through our Love and Stuff community or inside of Love and Stuff, which we'll talk about in a moment, or if you're just joining through the Marcus R. Holmes page here on Facebook or on Twitch TV and YouTube events, which has a lot of our overseas folks. Wherever you're joining from, I hope that you will click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, followers, or connections, 5 of your more popular ones to join in tonight's show. I think we have some wonderful information that you can use in this year, regardless to where you're starting off in this year. If you're feeling like you want new relationships, new friendships, you want to meet new people, but you're introverted, and we'll talk about that in a moment, I think we've got some questions that you can have and that you can have on your phone if you want to be able to spark conversations. Give me some likes or loves if you're open this year to new connections, new relationships, new conversation, new companionship. You can, or to rekindle, to re-strengthen, to restore, to reconnect to some other relationship, and you just don't have the words to say, or you just don't want to put yourself out there. Well, these are some tips and some questions that you may ask. Now, if you've been in the love and stuff community for any length of time, you know that we have been on a journey about 36 questions that lead to love. And tonight I'm going to share with you 35 questions that you can use that will move you from stranger to friendship. So sometimes the best route to go is to begin a friendship. And thank you, Earl Dawkins. Thank you, Tyrone Pickens. Thank you, those that are joining on the Love and Stuff page. Click share and tag 5 of your closest Facebook friends, 5 of your more popular Facebook friends. Jeremy Haynes from Texas is joining us. Happy New Year to all of you. Click share and tag 5 of your connections right now on these 35 questions. If you are I'm going to talk about in 1 second introvert, as I understand introverted, and we're going to use it as a common term, and extrovert, omnivert, ambivert. Which one are you? And whether or not you feel that that gets in the way of you meeting people. Well, we're going to share some questions, and you'll be able to get those questions to put on your phone as a download. Happy New Year to you, Jeremy C. Haynes. Many, many, many more. The blessings of this year be upon you and your family. And these questions you can put on your phone as a file. Now, tell me if you have a smartphone and you got a PDF that you can put on there, or you have a smartphone and you have a notes function. Give me a like or love. Drop a like or love in the comments. If you have a notes function on your phone, then this is for you. You can download this and you can whip it out and ask questions. You know me, I'm the love activist. I am not Cupid. I am not a licensed psychologist. I just know what I know. And I know that so far in my short 51 years, I have been 15 for 15 when I've been intentionally connecting people. But I'm not in the business of intentionally connecting people. I just love to connect people to things and people that they're passionate about. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to connect somebody. I meet someone and they say, I need this, and I know someone else who has that. I like to connect people. That gets my endorphins, my adrenaline going. I just love to do that. And so in this love and stuff community, I realize that people are looking, some are looking for love, and some are looking for friendship. Some are looking for companionship. Some people just want someone that they can talk to. As a matter of fact, I was talking to a brother here in Michigan who says it's just so hard to build friendships with people that are real, that you can just talk to, just fall asleep on the phone with. Some people still believe in that. I don't know if that's you, give me a like or love. Just someone that you can connect to. And I have a new coaching out that talks about networking, and you should go out and get that coaching if you want to, if you're looking for a job or you want to go to the next level in your life. It's a great coaching. I just had to segue that because it talks about conversations, connections, and convictions. But a lot of people feel antsy about making connections, new connections with people, right? They feel like they don't want to put themselves out there, right? But they want to meet new people. So you kind of have to make a decision about what you're going to do. And these are questions that you might use. I have often said, long time said, and Ingrid Poole, I hope she comes in here, excuse me, Ingrid Poole Curtis. She's married since she's been 11 stuff. I did not introduce her to her husband. So I can't say I'm 16 for 16, but I did give her some tips that she did put into play, and she did meet and marry her husband after that. And so I'm going to have them on. They've agreed to come on and talk. I'm going to have them on, in the Clevelands and the Williams, to come back and talk about their relationships. But she put some of the tips that I gave her into play, and they work for her. So no, I'm not going to take all of the credit, because Ingrid's a beautiful person, smart, gifted, talented. So I'm sure she wooed him with that and cooking and who knows what else. I'm not going to get into their business of how she wooed that man. I did not give her tips on how to do that. But I've been giving one tip among many, and it is to be open to the regular places that you're in every day, to where love is. And if you've listened to me for any period of time, you know I tell you, go, where do I say go to? Sonia Clark has joined us. Tamuk Scruggs, Love and Stuff Staples joined us. Happy New Year. Monique Lamar Sylvia, thank you so much for joining. I hope you all will click share and tag some folks to join us. I am always telling people this, and people just discount it, but that's okay. You keep discounting. I tell people, where do you go every day? Where are the places that you go regularly? Because there are people there that you're supposed to meet. You're supposed to be awakened to the portals and pathways of love. I believe that. And not every love is the love connection. Some love is the love connector to a love connection. So you can build a friendship with somebody, and it can be a connector to their brother or sister or uncle or aunt. So that's why I tell people, be open. Happy New Year, Sonia Clark. Thank you so much. I hope you will click share. Be open. And I often tell people, when you go in the store, the corner store, and you have no attraction to the guy at the counter or the woman at the counter, just not your thing. And you don't even make eye contact. You do transaction and you move. Instead of being open to engage them and let them see you, because they might have a brother or sister, cousin, uncle, niece, who they say, hey, this person comes in all the time, I think you should meet. But if you're not open to it, if you're closed to it, you're not giving yourself the opportunity to get connected. Okay. So the first thing you have to do is be open. If you want to be connected, you have to be open. Okay. I should have these points on the screen, but I'm sorry. Be open. Okay. That's the first thing. Second thing I tell people is, in the places that you regularly go every day or every week, there are people that you are supposed to meet. Okay. And there are connections that you're supposed to make. One, for instance, that I tell people all the time that I think everybody goes to is the grocery store. And if you don't go to a grocery store, I'm thinking you're not eating fruits and vegetables. And I'm going to have Tamuk and other folks to come talk to you about healthy living when we get into our self-care We got a special treat that Tamuka's planned for you to help people who are trying to get physically fit. So you want to join inside of Love and Stuff to get that content, because we're going on a self-care journey starting this month, and this month starts with sleep. But we'll talk about that. The grocery store, I think we all go. The market. Drop in the comments which market and grocery store you go to, wherever you are, across the country or around the world. If you're on YouTube, drop it there too. Twitch TV. I go to Whole Foods. Some people call me Bougetto, bourgeoisie, bougie. God bless you. I used to go to a place called Super Fair, but it's closed. I go to Mike's Fresh, which is some place in the neighborhood, a little pricey for me. Somebody says Kroger's. Somebody says Publix and Walmart. I've never gone to Publix, but I heard that I don't think they're even in our area, Dia, Shelton, and welcome. I've never gone to it, but I've heard good things about it. I go to Kroger sometime. I got a Kroger's card and it's connected to the Shell gas, so that works out good. Carmen Evans, happy birthday, Carmen Evans. Happy birthday, one of our Love and Stuff day ones. We're so happy for you. Happy birthday. Your picture looks so beautiful. We're going to be talking about her in 1 second. Walmart. You know, Monique, I've never gone Walmart for grocery shopping, but I should try it. I go, my store of choice, besides Whole Foods, when I'm being hoity-toity, right? When I'm being organic, is Myers. There's a Myers that is close to my home, and that's where I go for most of my food. And their prices are pretty comparable to Kroger from my estimation of the things I buy. And what I tell people all of the time, and you know, if you've been watching Lemon Stuff over these 4 years, you know I'm telling you this because I've been saying it. Go to the supermarket. Fresh Time. Thank you for that, Tyrone Pickens. Go to the supermarket. Fellas, go after you get your hair cut. Ladies, go after you get your hair done or tied down. Okay? Wear your stretch pants, ladies. The ones that, not the ones that show everything, but the ones that are in order. Or if it's in the summer, you can wear a sundress. We'll talk about that another time. Fellas, wear your nice regular sweatpants season. I'm telling you what I'm telling you. Go down the aisle. Go up the next aisle. Go up and down every aisle, even if you don't have anything that you want to buy in that aisle. Even if it's your temptation aisle. Anybody got a temptation aisle in the store where you know you're not supposed to be eating no processed foods and you go down there anyway? Go down that aisle. And sisters, when you see a brother that is attractive to you, brothers, when you see a sister that is attractive to you, or when you see somebody that's attractive to you, it's going to be all inclusive. Go to where they are and pick up an item and ask his or her opinion on the item. You know, my favorite thing is to say, when you're on the produce aisle and you pick up a melon and you say, does this melon seem ripe to you? You ask that question and you start that question. One of the things I believe in networking is when you enter a space, be it a store, a networking event, a conference, don't stand at the door waiting to meet people. That brings you more anxiety about who is inside. Go in through the space as if you belong, because it will build your self-confidence. Don't wait at the door. Go and explore. Okay? So in the store, go up and down the aisles. And that guy, that woman, start a conversation that is something natural. And when you're in the grocery store, use food. Use that as the conversation. It starts a conversation and breaks the ice every time. Now, I don't want you to get something suggestive as you hear Tamuka saying, and all the yams are there. I don't want you to pick up a yam, fellas, and say, ladies, I don't want you to use yams. I don't want you to use anything that's suggestive, right? But I do want you to be your witty, regular self. You know how people say fake it till you make it? Not in this instance. I don't even know if that's good in any instance, but in this instance, you don't want to fake it. You want to be it, whomever you are. And you build your confidence by going and exploring as if you belong. As if you belong. So I love it. And my Joy Pascal is here. You should follow her also. She has a wonderful ministry. Carmen says something that's great. You just forayed into what I wanted to say. I'm not good with the stuff Carmen says, but I need for him to be direct. I'm not good with catching clues. They always go over my head. No, they don't. I believe that your limbic resonance, your system, your cells feels stuff before you act upon it. You have just programmed yourself to ignore it. And maybe it might be, I'm thinking of you and Tyrone, it might be the, law enforcement security aspect of you. When you go into an area, be open means that you look for the most positive thing in people and you don't search out the negative. See, when you go in and you're looking only for positive, the negative becomes glaring to you. If you only go for negative, you're going to find it, and often without context, because you'll be judging, right? But when you're meeting new people, you have to be open and being positive. Okay. You have to be open and being positive. So here's what I want to tell you folks that are like Carmen. Beautiful person, right? Has a birthday today, doesn't look her age, all those great things, smart, educated, all of that, right? Find out what kind of person you are. What I mean by this, a part of your personality is either predominantly extroverted, introverted, ambiverted, or omniverted. Tonight, I'm really highlighting those that are introverted. And the way I describe an introvert is a person who is refueled and recharged most and most comfortable by themselves. They're most comfortable when others reach out to them instead of them doing the reaching out. They're most comfortable with small conversations, having a lot of autonomy. That's where they feel most comfortable and are recharged and refueled most when their time is away from people. That does not mean that they don't want to be connected to people, but they're most recharged and fueled by being away, being alone. That's one extreme, introverted. On the opposite end is extroverted. Those are the people who are refueled and recharged and most comfortable being connected to people for periods of time. They like to be in teams, in crowds, interpersonal, social butterflies, social interaction. Okay. In the middle is ambivert, when you are both. You both like to be with people, but you also get recharged from being away from people. And then omnivert is when you are situationally charged and recharged based on interactions or lack thereof with people. So I'm going to describe it in that way. And in one regard, an introvert is uniquely positioned to crush the game, I will say, when it comes to social interactions. And here's one of the reasons why. An introverted person normally is a person who is very observant and who watches. And one of the biggest, most powerful things in personal and professional excellence is your ability to be socially aware of the behaviors of the people around you, aware of their emotions, how they show up, and to be able to navigate those emotions while keeping your own emotions intact. So, an extroverted person who spends more time listening than talking can watch for social cues, which I think are very important when we talk about these 35 questions that take you from being kind of a stranger to friendship or platonic to getting to know somebody. And these are questions you can start up even in the grocery store. Now, you probably can't get these out at the light. You have to invite them for coffee, right? Socially distanced coffee. And I want to say to all of the people that are contending with and have contended with this COVID-19 and the most recent variant or any of them, we are certainly praying for your healing. I'm introverted unless I know you very well. Yeah, I would tend to agree. Come on and help me, Dia says. The biggest introvert, and I observe everyone. Yes. So here's what you got to do in that observation. You have to observe, Dia. When you're observing, you have to synthesize the information to decide Am I willing to step forward to take the risk of learning to be open and positive about the interaction? Because what people will migrate to Dia is they will see that you are open to that interaction and they will open. So even if you're introverted, you can start to ask some of these questions while you're synthesizing the information so that you feel comfortable as you navigate forward. Okay. And I'm going to make sure before the night is over to drop a link so that you can get these 35 questions. But we're going to talk a little bit more about them this weekend in our first Inside 11 Stuff this weekend as we start to get to know each other better in the 11 Stuff community. We've got almost 4,000 people, but I created an Inside 11 Stuff group for the people who say, hey, I want to get to know Valencia. I want to get to know Tabitha. I want to get to know Carmen. I want to get to know Jeremy. And so I wanted to create an Inside 11 Stuff. So if you haven't joined, you have to go to the 11 Stuff community page under groups and then click on Inside 11 Stuff. It's going to ask you to answer a few questions to make sure you're willing to abide by our group rules, and then you'll be a part of it. But if you want to have these 35 questions, I will certainly be sharing them through a link so that you can have them. All right. Thank you, Princeton. He's one of the best assistants in the world. I'm going to have some help. Okay. So one of the things that I want you to do when you are going to the grocery store or wherever you're going is I want you to set an intention. What I mean by that, I think you probably heard that before. I want you to go in to say, I'm going to the grocery store for my regular shopping and I'm going to save money, right? I'm going to get an avocado and catch them on sale. But I'm going to set an intention that I'm going to meet at least one person in the grocery store. Now, if you're open, you might say, I'm going to meet one person without regard to there being some kind of chemistry or sexual or attraction, right? I'm going to meet one person. I'm going to practice as an introvert going into the grocery store. I'm setting an intention. My intention is to meet one person. If it's the cashier, if it's the stock guy, if it's somebody that's roaming the aisles, I'm going to meet one person. Yes, I will certainly drop I'll drop the link, but if you can, the quickest way to make sure you get it is to join Inside 11 Stuff. I should have said it that way, Jeremy, but I will make sure that you have a link in the comments before the night is up, I promise. Okay? Set an intention. Okay? Set an intention. Ladies, words are powerful. Okay? So when you are talking to a guy, I want you to think of words that are positive, uplifting, and complimentary. I don't want you to talk about the prices in the store so high. I want you to find a way, if you're really savvy, you got that piece of fruit and you say, this smells so good, or is that your cologne? Now, some people aren't going to be able to be that forward, but it's a great pickup line. Same for that guy. Oh, this smells so sweet, or is that you? Find ways to be complimentary because words are powerful. And when you use words that are descriptive, they create mental imagery for the other person and they become complimentary. You want them to start to see you as positive because that's what you're saying. So no complaints in the initial meeting. These lines so long. No, sister, the lines are not so long. They ain't got enough registers open. Shoot, I was here last week. These were 2 for 99 cents. Now they 2 for $1.19. No. Words are powerful and they set the course of conversations. Use powerfully descriptive words, especially if it's somebody that you're first meeting that you like, and use words that are complimentary. First, set the intention and then use powerful words. The next thing I want you to know, don't fake it until you make it. Don't say you're the CEO of the company and you're the janitor. Both are valued positions. Don't say you make six figures and you're trying to figure out how you pay in next week's bills. Don't fake it till you make it. Be the best of yourself. Okay? And as I said earlier, move away from the door, even if you're going into a fitness center. Don't get the first treadmill by the door so you can see who's coming in. No, no. Make it seem that you're comfortable being in a new space, because when you are comfortable, people are comfortable approaching you. If you are uncomfortable, you send off energy that you are uncomfortable and people are not comfortable approaching you. So if you're going in a fitness center for the first time, it might be like, oh my God, oh Lord, they got on thanks. Oh my goodness, I don't look that good. Go in like you have been a VIP member and go in the center of that bad boy and get the socially distanced, get the cardio, get the you know what I'm saying? Uh, I can't. The word is not coming to me because I ain't been in the gym. Get the machine that's in the center and get on that machine and look around, but act as if you belong, because you do. Don't fake it till you make it. You are valuable. You are beautiful. You are handsome. You are smart. You is kind, right? Remember this. Meet people, new people in motion, not standing still, because you want to see them moving and behaving. It's easy to deflect and deceive when you are standing still. But watch people's mannerisms, watch how they move. Meet people who are moving, not standing still. So when you're going down that aisle, wait till he squeeze that bread and go past and say, I know you squeezed that bread. Was that a good squeeze? Now, ladies, you might not feel that comfortable saying that, but brothers, you might say that to a lady. Or lady, you might say that to a brother. Exercise bike. Thank you, treadmill. That's what I was trying to say. Thank you, treadmill. Help me out. And so I want to go into these questions, some of them, but I want to tell you a few things that you should know going into these questions, okay? Um, because some things people are telling you, that's right, Mike Reed, you are valued, smart, and fine, all that. Yep, you are. Pass that on. Click share and tell somebody else that. I would say in those first conversations, you keep it kind of simple. And these questions are kind of simple. And you wait for later to do foundational type of questions. Politics and religion don't necessarily open with those questions. But in these first set of questions, which are really basic, what you're doing is you're asking these questions. But to Dia, I think it was Dia, if I'm not mistaken, Dia Shelton. Yeah, this is for you, Dia. You're introverted, right? You're good at listening and watching, right? So now you got to get up your nerve to ask a few questions, right? So you've gotten down the aisle with that brother. He's shaped like you want him, tall, almond, chocolate, or vanilla, whatever your flavor is, right? He looks like you want him to look. And you give him eye contact and smile, right? And you got positive words already ready. What you want to do in these first set of questions, Dia, is you want to get a baseline for how he responds to questions. And what I mean by a baseline is, how does he act when he's normally responding? What you're looking for is his consistency in the response. It's called congruence. Is he a gesturer? Is his face matching his hands? You want to get a baseline for that. And you get a baseline, and then you want to get what's called a nervous baseline. So when you ask someone a question and they touch their head or they drop their head like this, that's kind of a sign of shame or embarrassment, a question they may not want to answer. You mark that baseline too, because those are different baselines. It's important to know how people are when they're normal, how they are when they're nervous, and how they are when they're lying. And so you need to know the first two in these first set of questions so you can start to detect some of the other tips that I'm going to tell you about when you think that they might not be telling you the truth. All right. And again, if you go into a conversation being open and positive, you're not looking necessarily for the red flags, but when you're being positive and surround everything with positive language, the red flags will be more glaring to you. They will stand out more when you focus on the positive, because something that is off will make you say, hmm, that didn't go with that. But if you spend your time, that didn't go with that, you'll find yourself in judgment and might not see the whole context of where that negative or outlier falls into place. So you go on the conversations positive, right? That this is a good person. He's not shady. She's not shady. She's not a thought. He's not a gigolo or whatever the words of are today. You're not going into the conversation thinking he's trying to just get over on me. No, you're going into the conversation, say, this is a handsome man. This is a beautiful woman. This seems like somebody I would want to get to know. And you're open to that. Okay. And you ask questions like these. And again, you want these questions. Those of you that are just joining Eunice Hunter and others, Happy New Year. You want to be able to, and I'm going to give you one more baseline. So I gave you the normal baseline, nervousness baseline, and recall baseline. Thank you, Lena Brown. Click share and tag someone to join us. Recall baseline is when you know how you ask somebody a question and they're trying to recall. Some people look down to recall. Some people look up to recall. You want to watch to see if their recall changes. So you're trying to get a baseline. When you say, oh, well, how many years ago was that? And somebody, starts to think like this, doesn't mean that they're being deceptive. Is it consistent with their baseline? If they always do this and then one time they do this, Dia, you want to make note of that person could be being deceptive. And whenever you feel that someone is being deceptive, you either ask more questions or set new boundaries. When people show you a red flag, believe them. And you either ask more questions to confirm that red flag or you set new boundaries. That way you don't invest in red flags and end up needing a white flag and the cavalry to come save you, right? We've all done it, right? We ignored some red flags. Someone was showing us. We're like, I'm just going to overlook that. Don't overlook a red flag. Ask more, delve more deeply into questions. And if you don't get an answer that makes sense to you, set boundaries. Don't let them closer in. Make sure that you set boundaries so that you don't put yourself in harm's way. So here are some of the questions you're going to ask to see how congruent their answers are to that baseline. When it's a yes and smile or yes and no smile, try to find a baseline. Are they saying, I love working for the company, but there's no smile, there's no, you trying to find a baseline and see where their baseline is. Is it congruent with their body language? Is it in sync? Do they have a nervous baseline? And does the nervousness, can you tell enough that the nervousness is different than the maybe deception? And then their recall baseline, when you're asking them something in the past, oh, how many years ago were you married? And they're like, it's about 20. And so, okay, and how many kids do you have? One. You might want to make note of that. There might be 2 other kids they don't want to tell you about, right? You're just going to make note of it and ask more questions until you feel comfortable that you've satisfied this incongruency. Okay. So in this first round of questions, here are some of the things you ask. Michael says, what's the stage of this conversation? How soon are you advising people in relationship for these questions? You're not in relationship. You're just meeting someone. So, Michael, you're going into Kroger's, and not for you because you have the beautiful Kim, but you're going into Kroger's and you see somebody that's fine like Kim before you met Kim. And you're going in the grocery store and you see them and you're like, voila, voila, or whatever you would say. I know you got special words. And you say, hey, how you doing? My name is Mike. I'm Mikey. Mikey. And y'all get to talk. You exchange names after you've made some opening thing. You say, who was your favorite teacher in school? And why? You might not ask them in this order, but these are questions that are in the first section. Because what you want to do is establish a baseline to see whether or not who's showing up, right? Michael, what's the meaning of your name? Does it have any meaning, or were you named after anybody? Do you feel like the meaning of your name resonates with who you are? Is it in sync with your personality and how you see yourself? You're watching how he responds or how she responds. In this case, Mike, right? I use Mike. Do you have animals? Are you an animal person? What kinds of animals do you like, or pets? Do you prefer calling them animals, pets? Which do you like? Maybe they'll talk about, yeah, I like lions, but I don't want one as a pet. Why? Right? When you were young, what was your favorite toy? You might even open this if you're extroverted and say, you know what, I had a Slinky. I love that Slinky, and I got it downstairs in the basement still. What was your favorite toy when you were young? They might have to recall, and they might go, I had a Tonka truck that I loved, and they might have a story, and you listen to see how they're telling that story. And if it comes across that they're telling you a real story, that might be their baseline for recall. Because most people, when they go back to a cherished moment, they can easily unlock the memory and give you the detail. Some people have harder times when they're making up the detail. Get the baseline. These are baseline questions to see, is this person willing to open up and tell you things that feel like they're true? Yeah, you would have said you're Mike Reeves. I know. Which did you grow up with any specific culture or tradition? You might even talk it, you're talking to somebody African American, you might say, what was on your Thanksgiving table? Or you might talk about, were you the youngest? Did you have to wash the dishes? Whatever things that might come out of that question. So you can, again, you're establishing baseline. Do you care about politics? Now, this is one that I would move farther down because sometimes that's tricky. Sometimes people don't, politics can, make strange discussions. I'll leave it there. If you could invite 5 people, dead or alive, to a dinner party, who would you invite and what food would you serve? And that's sufficient enough down because they're telling you now who they admire, right? Who they like to meet. And you might follow up and say, have you met any of these people? Got anybody's autograph? Why do you like them? Did you go through any phases in high school, like hip hop or punk or goth? If so, which ones? I'm a big Lauryn Hill fan. Though they say she's never on time to her concerts, I've not been to one of her concerts. But I love the miseducation of Lauryn Hill. And so someone say, well, what's your favorite album? Well, I don't have a favorite album, but I love me some Lauryn Hill. Did you ever hear this song? What's your favorite album? What's your album might even date you, right? Somebody might like an album. This is MP3, right? If you could be in any movie as a remake, what would it be and why? Okay. All of these questions are baselines. And what's your all-time favorite book? So these are about 11 of the questions that I would suggest you use to establish baseline. You want to see congruency, nervousness, recall. Those are the basic things that you want to see. And as they're talking, you're actively listening, which means you're repeating back their answers to them, kind of flipping it around. Oh, you like that movie, so and so? I like that movie too. Who was your favorite star? Right? You're letting them know you're listening. And then another slight thing that you do in body language is tilt your head. We all do it. Most of us might nod. I'll be like, okay, that's what's up. Right? It tells somebody that you're interested in them and you're interested in what they're saying and that you want to hear more. You do that in these first 10 questions to see how well they are tracking with you and how well they're engaging with you. Okay. I think it's important that you do that in those first 10 questions. All right. These next questions kind of focus on how you might understand each other and find out about each other's values. And you find this out through their senses. Now, if you're in the grocery store, you can, be creative. This will help you get through that grocery store experience, right? Because we all have a unique way that we perceive things and see the world. So now you want to get a snapshot of how they experience the world, and it helps you to better begin to establish some rapport with them and empathize with how they might see things different. Okay. In this, you want to watch still those congruent things, but in addition to that, you want to watch people who haven't in their baseline touched their nose. There is science, it's not just Pinocchio, but there is science that says that when you're getting ready to be deceptive, there are chemicals that are released in the nose that cause them to itch. That's why you touch your nose when you're not telling the truth, if it's not part of your baseline. Again, someone who's always touching their nose when talking, and people do even in COVID, that's a part of their baseline. So you got to be watching in those first 10 questions if somebody's like, that's what's up. That's what, that, when they're talking all the time. But if no one's touched their nose and you get to asking them a question, you just start paying attention. These questions ask things like, what's your favorite sound? What's your favorite smell? What's your favorite feeling? Okay. How do you usually respond to stress? What's something about yourself that is still the same as it was when you were a child? Watch the body language. Watch the recall baseline. Do you have any tattoos? What do they mean? Do you want tattoos? Where are they on your body? See if that makes them shameful, embarrassed, blush. Note that differently than you would someone who is about to be deceptive. It's a part of their nervousness baseline. When people feel shame about a question, oh, did you? I went to Harvard and got my doctorate. Where'd you go? Well, I didn't quite. Somebody might have some shame around that, and they'll touch typically the sides of their head, or they'll cover their face or drop their head. That's a nervousness. That's a confidence quotient, right? And so you want to keep that separate from determining whether or not they're being authentic and real with you. Okay. When was the last time you told someone you loved them? Watch the recall on this. See if it's the same yesterday, I think, or if it's I think it was yesterday. And that's different from the other recall. Watch it. If you can invent an ice cream flavor, what would it be? If you could live anywhere in the world and not have to work for money, where would you live and what would you do and why? Do you believe in the paranormal? Do you believe in mystical creatures? Do you believe in fairies and wolves and elves and witches and warlocks? What do you think about God and religion? Now you're starting to delve into what somebody believes, and just listen to them. Don't be immediately turned off because someone's saying, I don't know about God, I ain't rocking with him. He took my mom out of here. I don't know about organized religion. I'm just spiritual. Be open. Be open to meeting people where they are. What would your younger self from childhood think about you today? Watch the congruency. I think my child would be proud of me. I think my child would be proud of me. When someone responds to a question in the tone of raising the end of the phrase, they're really not sure that that's the answer that they should be giving, and it's probably not the correct one. Are you closer to your biological family or chosen family? If they say chosen, who's in your chosen family and why? Do you believe in free will? What's your favorite place in the world, and what about it makes it special to you? And do you rehearse conversations before you have them with people, or need help from prompts and templates to talk to people? And you could even swing that around and say, do you feel comfortable talking to people? Or do you rehearse what you're saying before you get into situations like this? Okay. So now you're starting to get into some meatier questions. And again, this is not the 36 questions that lead to love, right? That is where you say the physical attraction is enough that I want to explore. This is to get you out in 2022, virtual or in public, saying, I'm going to be open to meeting new people for the purpose of connecting. Because you never know. You could be connecting to someone that's going to connect you to the one, or you could be connecting to someone that is becoming, and you're on the road to helping them become. But you got to be open to connecting, to go from stranger to at least friendship. And that's what these 35 questions are about. So now you're kind of getting to some meatier questions where you can go a little bit more in depth. Again, you're watching the baselines. It's important. And these are questions that might make you feel a little more vulnerable. And so you can expect that somebody might shy away from some answers in some of these questions. Some of these questions are about, learning how to support someone and being comfortable with also having to identify and talk about what you want as well. All right. So it makes you all on equal footing. Okay. So that you look at each other's experiences, relationships, and desires without being one-sided or without judging. You have to be open. So another question that you might ask, and again, you're looking at baselines, but remember, I don't want you to mistake the lack of confidence necessarily in these questions as a lie, because someone could lack confidence in these questions or not ready to be vulnerable, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they're being deceptive. Remember that when people are being deceptive, a lot of times there's some body language that's happening, but it needs to be different from their nervous recall and baseline. It's got to be incongruent. Okay. So we talked about spotting shame. One of the things in these questions that I'm going into that you want to look for, because you're already doing the head tilt and nodding as you're listening to them. If someone does what's called blocking, and that blocking hasn't happened through the conversation, it's something you want to note. Now, the most known form of blocking is the folding of arms, right? Because it's a barrier between you and the person. Another form of blocking might be like this. If someone goes into this and they haven't been doing this the whole conversation, you ask them something, they're like, huh? That's a flag. It's a flag because you've gotten to this part in the conversation and they aren't vulnerable enough. So you got to set new boundaries or ask more questions. Say, I'm sorry, was that too personal a question? To say, oh, yeah. It's okay. Maybe we should set some boundaries about how vulnerable we can be in this conversation, because I'm enjoying the conversation. But if I'm going too deep, I don't want to do that. So let's set some boundaries. Okay. Whenever there's a flag for you, set boundaries. First, ask more questions and then set boundaries. Okay. Or someone might cover them out. They might say something, say, throw an F-bomb. That means that they didn't mean to say something. They really meant to say it, but they didn't want you to hear it. Or someone really wants to say something and they purse their lips like this. Those are flags. Don't ignore that someone wants to withhold something from you, even if they think that you might misjudge it. They're not yet ready to be vulnerable, and you have to set boundaries and ask more questions. Okay. So red flag doesn't mean run away, but it doesn't mean ignore. You don't ignore red flags. You investigate them, ask questions, and if necessary, set boundaries. Okay. Another one is the raising of the eyebrows as if you said something incorrect. Now, you have to, kind of work at this, because I raise my eyebrows all the time. And sometimes it's because I'm curious or I'm surprised that you said something. But some people are like, and they might be telling you that you've said something that's raised the red flag in them. And if that happens, you have to ask questions and say, You seem surprised or shocked. What are you feeling now? Let them say, oh, no, I'm good. When someone says, oh, I'm good, that's incongruent. When someone does this, they're not what they're saying. I'm good. Fine. Ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm straight. No, they really aren't. Say, well, hey, I hear you, but your body language is telling me a little something different. So I just want to make sure that I'm not crossing any boundaries. Let's set some intention around this. Maybe we shouldn't talk about ex relationships, for example, if that's the question, right? And you set boundaries and ask more questions until you both resolve that you're comfortable. Okay? You make sure. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Mama V. I'm glad you came. I know you've been busy rocking it out. We're so proud of you in the Love and Stuff community. We'll have you on to talk about going and getting it in 2022. So these are the questions that round out these questions. And again, you want a copy of these questions that are going to take you kind of from a platonic or stranger to friendship. You don't have to go straight to love. Now you can. Those 36 questions that lead to love is something else. But these 35 questions are for the introvert, or maybe people who are just saying, in 2022, I want to meet more people. I want to get into more interactions. And you can do this on a coffee chat on Zoom if you want to. You can do this in person in the store, which is my recommendation, of course, at the grocery store. And you can have these on your phone as you go to the, in these grocery stores, they got a Starbucks right where you can grab coffee right in the store. You know what I'm saying? Go over there and grab coffee. Say, I was a buddy of mine, Marcus. He's the love activist. He gave me these questions. I just want to ask you some of these questions. Is that okay? I mean, I don't know all these questions, but let's just hear it. I'm going to text it to you. What's your number? Get that number. What's your email address? Email them questions and y'all go back and ask each other. Now, before I proceed, I just want to make sure that I say, which I hadn't said before, you should ask yourself these questions first. Read every one of them so that you can practice being congruent and answering the questions, not being deceptive, because if you don't want somebody else to be deceptive, you shouldn't be. Ask yourself these questions. Don't be surprised that your answer is like, oh, I didn't know that would come out. Ask yourself these questions, okay? Do you feel like there are some things too serious to joke about? Like what? How often do you cry? Do you cry more than you laugh in the last 6 months, in the last year? What are 3 things you want to have in common with your friends? What 3 things do you have in common with your friends? Who is one person who's hurt you a lot in life, and how did they hurt you? Who's one person that has seriously helped you, and how did they help you? What's the most embarrassing thing that has ever happened to you, and why was it embarrassing? If you knew that in 1 year you would suddenly not be here, would you change anything about the way you are living now? Why? What are your love languages? Do you know what they are? Do you know what that is? How do you communicate your love for someone? And how do you like for other people to communicate their love to you? If we became friends, how could I help create a space for you to vent or even celebrate? What would you say is the greatest accomplishment of your life? And what are the things you're most still hoping yet to accomplish? And the last question, if you were to die this evening with no opportunity to communicate with anyone, what would you most regret having not told someone? And why haven't you told them yet? So these are great questions. And just as we're at 9:26, a couple of things that I want to share with you, and from the Science of People, information from the Science of People and Vanessa Van Edwards, and part of some of this information and some of this from psychology as well. Did you know that just a little bit over 54% of people can actually detect when someone is being deceptive? So it's pretty much a coin toss unless you hone in to these baseline principles that I'm giving to you. When you hone into these baseline principles, it moves you up closer to 80% of the time. And again, it's because those nuances. Sometimes when someone is nervous, they come across as not believable. They're not lying, they lack confidence. So there are these areas you see where you might not get to 100%, right? And I want to share with you another interesting fact. It's called the morning morality effect. Did you know that people are more likely to tell the truth in the morning? They're more likely to espouse their moral values after a fresh night of sleep. People are more likely to be deceptive the more tired they are, and more likely to lie to themselves about what they know isn't true, to try to convince themselves, oh yeah, I can just have that one cookie. Oh yeah, this ain't gonna hurt me. Oh yeah, this ain't toxic. But on a fresh awakening, so if you are a morning person, you're getting that Java, you're getting in the grocery store in the morning, you might want to try these questions then. So these 35 questions I am going to make available. I'm going to um, put the link in so that you can get a copy of these 35 questions. But if you really want to use them, which is really what I want you to do, I want you to do two things with the questions. I want you to go about your everyday life and living, because I believe you're meeting people. You're meeting people and you're ignoring the connection and conversation that you can have with people, not even to convictions yet. I believe it's first conversations, then connections, then convictions. You're missing that conversation part by walking past people. Growing up years ago, you spoke to everybody. You never passed by somebody that didn't speak. Today now we might get a nod. We might not even make eye contact. I want you to be intentional when you're walking past people to make eye contact with them and say, hello, hi, what's up, whatever you feel is the comfortable thing to say, and smile. And if they speak back and smile, if they stop, find some way to engage them in that moment. If only but for that moment, because you might find out that that person may come back the next day to that same spot to find you again. They may notice that they've been noticing you all along, and y'all pass by like two ships in the night, right? They might say, oh yeah, you get the coffee at that place over there. Is it pretty good? People are watching how you navigate, but you have to be awakened to it and open to it. And again, this is not just for some intimate or chemical, erotic connection. This is just human connection, human conversation. Because I believe the more of them that you have, the more you will be connected, the more you increase the power of your network and its value when you connect and broaden your net of people. You draw people closer in to see a little bit more of you and to connect to you. And that can't happen unless you're open, set an intention, use powerful words. Don't fake it till you make it. Don't expect to meet people at the door. Meet people in motion, not standing still, and then get baselines for their congruency, for their nervousness, for their recall, to find out if they're really being truthful and authentic with you. So that's one thing. I want you to use these questions as you go about your everyday. But then I want you to go to the Love and Stuff community page under groups and join inside of Love and Stuff because we will be exploring these questions in a messenger room where you can see each other's face and body language, right? And start to ask these kinds of questions among the group and get answers back for the purpose of conversation and connection. Even though you and I hope are social distancing and being careful, we still need to be connected. And whether you're introverted, extroverted, ambiverted, or omniverted, you need connection. And connection will drive conviction and it will deepen the relationships that you have in your life, in your community, and in your world. We're at 9:32, and before I go, I just want to share. Thank you, Dia. I'm going to make sure I drop it in the comments across all platforms. I had a community group of gospel singers called the Koyana Community Singers, and we would sing all around. And among those singers, I had selected a group of folks to serve as leaders. And one of them was the leader over publicity and promotions. You know her in the Love and Stuff community, and others know her because of her fame. She is Rashida the Glam Doctor LaShawn. And she was 19 those many years ago. And I gave her the job of being the publicity and promotions person. After every engagement, I would give Rashida a stack of business cards. And the first time I told her, now you're going to take these business cards, and before we go get anything to eat, which was what we did after every engagement, I don't even know how we afforded that. I said, you're going to pass out every one of these business cards. You're going to work this entire room, and you're going to come back with as many phone numbers or business cards as you hand it out. And she said, what? I ain't doing that. I said, this is exactly what you're going to do, and we're not getting nothing to eat until you do. After about the second time, Rashida was a natural. Now, Rashida was a natural. I always thought it, but she became so good at it after the second time. To this day, Rashida still has many of those same connections because what she would do is go meet this person and say, hey, I just met somebody else that does the same thing. Come over here with me and meet them. Hey, you need a photographer? Or come over. They getting married. They're doing this. She was giving value to people and getting value back from them. And to this day, she works a room just like that. What I hope for you in that lesson is while Rashida might be a little bit more extroverted than most, at that time, she was pretty introverted. But she had to be open, set an intention, use powerful words. She showed up as herself and she met people in motion. And I want you to do the same thing. If you're serious about increasing the amount of companionship and connection and conversations, you've got to be open to it, whether you're introverted, extroverted, ambiverted, or omniverted, in order for you to move toward friendship and maybe more in relationships. If this content has been of value to you, I hope you will do two things. I hope you will click share and tag 5 of your more popular connections or 5 of your closest connections. And I guess that's 2 things already, right? And then another thing that you will go to the Love and Stuff community page under groups and join inside of Love and Stuff. Love and Stuff is a wonderful community filled with wonderful, brilliant, beautiful, handsome, quirky, funny, hilarious, talented, gifted, amazing people. And I'd like to connect them to you in the interest of increasing the amount of love in the world. If you're like me, you could use a little bit more and you could give a little bit more to make the world a better place. Hashtag up your love game and join the Love and Stuff community now. I'm so excited that you have joined us here. I like that, Jeremy. I like that. I might have to, that's a long hashtag, but I love it. Jeremy says, a flower looks nice. It's not until it opens up to discover the real beauty. I love it. I love it. And what a fitting closing comment all the way from Texas. I'm Marcus Holmes, the love activist. I hope you will join us next week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're moving close to our Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and you will hear more about that. And go inside of Love and Stuff because we're starting our self care journey 12 months, and this month is about sleep. And I have some fantastic content around sleep. If you want to learn more, go to Inside of Love and Stuff and join. It's a few questions, housekeeping questions we ask to ensure that you will abide by our good rules of our community, that we will be civil in love, and that what we do is an outreach of that love, an outpouring of that love, so that we respect everybody in our community. That's the way our community works. And so answer those few questions, and then you'll have access to that content as well as we walk to be the very best that we can be. I want you, like me, I want us to be the best yous that we can be in 22. Pursue the best you in 2022. And we're going to start in part through self care. Have a grateful evening. I'm so glad that you were able to join us. And I hope that you will click the content, share the content rather, across platforms from Twitch TV to Facebook and back around to YouTube. I appreciate you all. Have a grateful evening.